A wonderful good afternoon, people in the world. Today we have the pleasure to welcome Diana Nekesa from Galina International in the wonderful, beautiful, amazing country of Kenya, where we have actually like lost our heart a little bit in Africa. Welcome, Diana. Hi.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here. I'm glad
Yeah, and
to
we can.
be talking to the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we see you have flowers in the back, and you have beautiful hair. So, tell us like a little bit what is your flowers in the back? Is this local flowers?
Yeah, so these are local flowers. I have a bit of chrysanthemums. I have baby's breath. I have roses. I have carnations. I have a bit of asparagus in the backdrop. I don't know if you're
Wow.
able to see. And
Yeah, I
eucalyptus.
see that.
It's a
I
mix
see
of
that.
everything.
Let's maybe see that
It's
we
a
can
beautiful backdrop.
bring it a
Thank
little bit
you.
closer. There we
Yeah,
are.
yeah. There
Yes.
we go.
We can see it even better.
And a bit of caspia, as you can see.
Wonderful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
actually making this arrangement for our chat.
Thank
Um,
you.
Diana, we met a little while ago and we chatted about this and that, and also about tell us how you became who you are today, how you lost your heart in flowers and events. And I mean, it's easy in Kenya, I can tell you guys, like they have flowers unbelievable. So tell us, like, how is your story? How was that all started? And yeah, what was your way to like the place where you are today?
So I guess my story is more of passion, because I completed my high school year and decided to go and pursue procurement. So while I was at it, I just didn't feel it calling my name. I was doing it, yes, but my heart wasn't there. So once I was done with it, I took a short course, and back then, that was like 13 years ago, we had a short course introduced in Kenya, called Weddings Beautiful. It was a franchise from Weddings Beautiful London. And so I joined the school. And quickly, when I was done, they called me back and they were like, you know what, come and work for us. So I got there as an admin, and quickly I started doing lecturing for events. And I got fonder of, doing it. I enjoyed doing events. I enjoyed teaching events as well. So 1 year down the lane, I was in it already, and
That's
it's
amazing.
been
But can I ask you,
it's
like,
been trial and
from
error.
procurement? Can I just ask, like, from procurement? I mean, that's like logistics. That's very dry and very different, obviously, from the wedding world. Like, how did you even find about this post, or like, I don't even know, like, where they advertise for this course? Like, how, like, did you go from procurement to like weddings? Did you plan your own wedding? Did you plan a friend's wedding? Like, how did you even get into like wedding planning? I mean, you could, I'm sure, do like a whole lot of different things, but why weddings?
So when I was in high school, I remember I did one of my cousin's wedding, and I realized I was very good at planning, and being very creative. I came up with good ideas for the wedding. So once I was done and I was doing procurement, I got to hear someone mention to me that there's a wedding course being advertised. And remember, this was the first wedding school in Kenya. So we were like the first class in Kenya doing events. And here we had
Okay.
a culture where people had gotten used to something called a committee. A committee is where there's a gathering of people who help you plan your wedding or your event, and they fund, so they kind of contribute to your event. So while they're doing that, they aren't open to, getting a wedding planner. So here I was pushing people to wedding planning, and they're like, so what's that, And it was, and I was like, I'm here to save you money. I'm here to help you organize. And they're like, no, we don't want our money saved. We know how to save our money. It was a very difficult transition. But also from procurement, I was able to, negotiate my way in and plan these events. So I started with close friends and family, where I could do a sister's wedding, I could do a cousin's wedding, a friend's wedding. And so we started growing and growing very fast. Now, because I was also in the school teaching, it also elevated me a bit, because people felt that I was offering knowledge that wasn't present back then. And that helped me a bit in just pushing.
Okay.
But this is quite interesting. Like I can, like while you were talking that this was not really a culture having a wedding planner, even that people like were quite like resistant against like having one, you know. Was it sometimes frustrating to say, maybe they don't want me, they don't need me, I go back to whatever? Or was it just like, okay, no, now I have to make this, I won't even work harder for that because I want to be a wedding planner?
So I usually tell people who are joining the events industry now that it is so easy. It's like it's already been cut out for them, because back then nobody knew about anything that as a professional I will bring on board. You know, you will get your auntie making food, you'll get your uncle baking the cake, you know, you will get balloons. There are no flowers really back then, you know, and it was quite frustrating. I took more than 5 years to just, you know, break even, to be able to say I'm running a business. Because before it was more like, you know, you're trying to just do the work so that you get noticed, you become relevant in the industry. So it was quite frustrating. And I will tell you, there's a point in time I took 1 year off because I was so frustrated. I felt like, you know what, as much as I was pushing my way, because my father did not understand why I was getting into wedding planning. He knew there was no money in weddings. So he was like, how do you trade procurement for the weddings? So when I got frustrated, and every time I will go home, he will be like, but Diana, I told you. So it took quite like patience and a lot of courage.
And courage. I mean,
Yes.
you are right. It took
Yes.
patience
Yes.
and courage
Yes.
and patience. I think like this is also something what when I listen that it's a long journey, and also it gives everyone the understanding that things are not easy, but when you have enough passion, you can make overcome. Yeah, you can make the breakthrough, and just don't give up. Don't give
Yeah.
up. I think even if you say like you had to take a year off and just like to take a deep breath maybe, but it led you back to the wedding industry.
Yes, and I will do it over and over again, even if I was pushed out. Even now, with COVID pushing us out, we are still here to stay. So, yeah, I think it's really about a matter of passion. And with passion comes a lot of things: resilience, patience, courage, and just the will to push forward.
That's interesting and very, very, very great to hear. Tell us, when you say you do teaching, and I know like you do teaching for flowers in particularly, like everyone think like in the world, I would say, even we think like you have access to each and everything in your country, which is actually not the case, right? Because I
Right.
mean, Kenya is well known as one of the most or as one of the countries with the highest rate of exporting of flowers.
Yes.
So everyone think like that is where you can just choose like in Wonderland. But when we were talking the first time about flowers, you said no, that's not the case. What is the case? Let us know.
So I actually think I have learned some flowers from Yes Exclusive, and probably have gotten them from Kenya, and we had no idea they are grown in Kenya. So what happens in Kenya? We export. We are one of the biggest exporters in terms of flowers, but when it comes to the local market, then we really do I call it like leftovers? I kind of feel like we never really get the best quality
Mm.
or the best flowers locally, because most times those ones are usually graded as export flowers. And there's also a notion that it's only the export market that can afford the kind of flowers that they grow. So we're usually given what is left. And
Which is
and it,
actually very sad.
Sad, yeah.
yes, it's very sad. And even during this COVID season, it was quite sad that most of these farms were now coming back to us and telling us to support the industry, support the
Yeah.
floral industry. However, when we need them, we don't get their presence. And I remember last year in December, I went to a farm. You know how December is crazy. So I get flower. I used to get flowers from this farm for so long. So I go to this farm, and I had made my order like 2 weeks ago, and they had confirmed. So my event is like 2 days to two, and there, and it's more like begging for flowers. So we were there begging for flowers, and do you know, they actually like told us not to get past their gate, a place where we get
Yeah.
flowers every other day. So they were literally chasing us, and they're like,
Unbelievable.
no, we already have enough orders for export, we cannot give you flowers. And it was very devastating, just knowing that you have all these things, but you're not able to access them. They're not available. So that is one thing that is quite disheartening. And I think it's something that the flower industry needs to really work on. You can't
And
sell
I hope,
something away from home when you've not
No.
even actualized it at home.
yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly. And there is a big market in the country itself. And I mean, I remember when we started, and I mean, like, that we just started a little bit by accident becoming a flower trader, because it was not really our intention, like, years back. And when I went to the first farm to say, okay, I want to sell your flowers, and not even quickly saying enough, that I want to sell them, in Africa, they said, but who in Africa actually want to buy our flowers? They cannot afford, and there's no request, and there's no demand for
No
that.
market for
There's
it.
no market for. And I mean, that has changed. It's now 5 years back, but that was the first reaction. And I was wondering, I was saying, like, why why people think like that? I mean, it's maybe a financial decision to say, okay, I get dollar for, or euro, or whatever, for my roses, and maybe on the local market I only get local currency. But however, there must be a certain way of supplying the local market. And I think, in particular in Kenya, it was very strange to me, to see that what I have not seen in a lot of other countries, maybe in Zimbabwe. But I mean, Zimbabwe, I don't want to compare Zimbabwe's flower market with the Kenyan market, that I even understand maybe Zimbabwe, because they really desperately need, the currencies, but in Kenya it would be really nice to see, the
Support
support.
of the local market. I
Yes.
mean,
yeah.
this is just to give also clients by the end of the day, a chance to like get what is locally available, because it does not make sense, not from a sustainable point of view, like to get flowers from somewhere else
Yeah.
back into, like, to buy them back into your own
Yeah,
country.
exactly.
And obviously financially it doesn't make sense, because I mean, flying around the world costs money too. And to just also like be able, or to like give people a chance to also work with what's locally available. And I think that is really really important. And as you like, I mean, said, it doesn't help to just reach out when the times are bad. Like,
Yeah,
you really have to support also your market when they need you, like when they need you, and not only when you need them. And I
exactly.
think that is, yeah, that is a big message here.
While we are talking, I get actually an idea, and I see there is someone here that also represents, a farm. I don't want to disclose it, because I don't want to put him in a pressurized position. But I have the idea, or I get the idea. Maybe once we all can travel again, maybe next year, we can do something like a flower class. And I would be happy to bring all the farms on board that we are working with in Kenya, the local farms, to showcase local florists, what is actually produced locally, how beautiful and wonderful and in what great quality flowers are available. And I would be very happy maybe to make arrangements with the farms also, that like local florists could be or have access to those flowers, because very often we see, and I cannot really understand sometimes that flowers are not available, because we get every single week, we get lists of flowers that's still available, and we just have to commit to them. So I think it's somehow a point of communication, which I would be happy to, yeah, be a, a little part of that,
Yeah.
to maybe help
Yeah.
florists in Kenya to get
Yeah.
access to the flowers that
We
we have all
honestly
over
need
the world.
that. We honestly need that. There's one thing that is even I think by that mere fact that we do not get access to flowers. Like you can see from the backdrop, my flowers are not garden roses, yet we grow garden roses. So what is happening is that even in terms of being creative, it takes a lot because you don't have the available resources, and that is why we're finding a lot of people turning to silk flowers, not because um, they will really want that, but because that is the way you are able to get variety. You're able to
This
get
is
your
just
hydrangeas.
unbelievable. I
Yeah.
cannot believe that in the biggest exporter of flowers, the florist using silk flowers because they
We
cannot get
do,
access to the flowers.
we do,
It's
we do.
unbelievable. Now that need to be changed. I mean, that need to be changed, really. Um, okay, so we have somehow a plan. Get back to me next year. We make a plan out of the idea, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I agree.
Let's go maybe a little bit into deeper into like weddings in Africa, because a lot of people watching us from all over the world. So we have people in America, in Europe, in Asia. Tell us about a Kenyan wedding. What is a traditional Kenyan wedding, and how, like, how many people? What is special on a Kenyan wedding?
Special. So we usually have like different
Or
kinds
what
of
is normal?
events.
I mean, like, what is normal?
So we have
Maybe
different
what is
kinds.
normal for you is special for anyone else.
No. We have some very special things that happen here in Kenya. Like so, before any wedding, any white wedding, we usually have like a few traditional ceremonies, where of course you come and do the dowry payment, which is basically more like your traditional wedding. And then you also there's quite a number of visits which are usually very ceremonious, things like visiting the ladies side and being able to know you're marrying from, and then the ladies family visiting the man's family to know where they're going to or where she is going to. Then of course the main wedding, which is the white wedding. So in Kenyan wedding is more like the traditional wedding. The white wedding is very westernized. So for the traditional wedding, there's a lot of traditional regalia. So depending on which tribe you come from, we have different regalias for different tribes. That is very special. You go to the Maasai land, you get them in the Maasai wear. You go to the Kikuyu side, you get, so it's a variety of very rich cultures. And then we also have food. Food is very special because during the traditional wedding, you get to sample and to enjoy different cuisines. You're able to dowry payments only by M-Pesa.
Yeah. This is
Yeah,
the
so
solid currency.
so you get to enjoy the different kinds of foods from the different kinds of tribes. What else is special? Dance. Kenyans love life. They love to party. Of course, not more than Nigerians, but yes, we love dancing.
Yeah, the Nigerians are famous for partying. Yeah.
They're extra. They're very extra. So we get to dance. We have different dances. So you go to the Luya land, you have Isikuti, you go. So we have, different kinds of dances. Um, and those are very special to us. We also family ties are extremely special in Kenya, and that is why I think in terms of the wedding industry we shall be hit very hard, because Kenyans know how to host everyone, be it a villager who knows your father, who knows your mother, who knows someone, they're already part of the family. So we also do a lot of big events, because people really host in terms of weddings. So those are like some.
What is, tell us, what is big, like
Yeah,
in
just
terms
a
of,
number,
yeah,
like
because
between
yeah.
how many to how many guests, that people get an idea.
So if you get 200 people, that is very intimate, extremely intimate. 200 people, because a wedding has to have, like, 300, 400, 500. We even hit to 1,000, depending on which family you're coming from. Yes. So that's
Okay.
the numbers.
Now we have an understanding of intimate.
Yeah, so when you're telling a Kenyan that intimate is 20 people, they're like, no, that is probably having just
What is that,
nuclear
20
family.
people? Like what is 20 people called?
20 people is a nuclear family.
There's nothing. It's not even a wedding.
But right now, is it still the case that you can have weddings for up to 50 people? No.
No.
How many people are now? No.
So from on the 6th of this month, we were waiting for the directive, and we were hoping that we shall have the numbers a bit raised, but we are still at 15. So that is the number that is allowed for any social gathering, be it a wedding, any kind of event. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I mean, at least a progress, because in South Africa we are still at a wedding, only the couple and 2 witnesses.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard. I mean, like, but however, this is for us, even in our country, a progress, because that's since the 1st of July, right? Before was nothing. There was a lot of people struggling, and I mean, some people, they want or they have to get married for several reasons. They cannot even wait until next year,
And they cannot invite the whole village.
Yeah, they cannot invite the whole village. Yeah. Yeah. That is a very tragic situation for a lot of couples this times. How actually you also plan weddings, right? You don't do just flowers, you also plan weddings. How do you deal with couples like they would have get married now and they have to postpone? Like, what is it, how you help them to overcome and to make plans maybe for whatever future it is?
So initially, most people opted to postpone. But what I'm preaching out is that, we can still do the events, we can still do a wedding, and love is not cancelled, so people have to celebrate. So what I actually did, so that I was able to support some of my couples, was to come up with a package that included like everything. So I'm working closely with other service providers on like more of collaborations, and we've given very good rates, because we understand that everyone is it has been a tough season for everyone, really. And so we also take them through what they should expect. I think for me, the biggest thing is being able to handle my clients' expectations, being able to make them understand even before any plans, making them understand that this is what the case looks like, and this is what we can work with right now. And it doesn't matter how small the number is. At the end of the day, you live as a husband and wife. So it is a celebration of life. It is the only celebration that you get to do and understand it. I keep on telling the clients that it is very important for them to understand that when they were born, they did not understand anything. When they die, they wouldn't be here present and physically to, celebrate their life. So this is the only thing that matters, that they enjoy the event, they enjoy to the maximum, and they actually have their dream wedding despite the numbers. So I think for me, that is what I try to express to the clients, so that I'm able to deal with the expectations. And it's very easy. Once you've managed someone's expectation, then the planning process is very easy. Another thing that I do is to introduce them to the directives, and to try as much as possible to be the one to absorb anything that will come up in terms of the directives. For example, things like temperature taking, temperature checks, and like even how they get to serve. Because here in Kenya, we do a lot of buffet style as opposed to plating. So I get to explain to them what we shall do during buffet, so that we minimize contact, like physical contact. I also now explain to them how we can keep social distance, and how we can still do everything and still minimize on their budget, but maximize on the experience.
Okay.
Perfect. Do you plan, like, let's say, then also wider distance in between, like people to sit on a seating plan, or as well as maybe considering like plated foods? Or is this something what people would not like buy in to have plated foods? They rather want to have maybe more distancing for still having the the food
The food.
not plated.
So I have done several events during this COVID season. I think I've done around 6 events or so. And what I've realized during these 6 events is that um, plating is a no-go zone now, because even in terms of hotels, they have reduced the number of staff, because of course um, being able to just manage their labor, so and their finances. So they've reduced the number of people that are supposed to offer service. So what happens is that when you're doing plating, it becomes very slow, as opposed to buffet. And us having done buffet so many times, that is something that is very easy for us. So the plating bit, I have seen it being a big challenge. I remember there was a wedding where we did in some hotel, and they did plating, and food service took a whole 3 hours. So keeping a guest waiting from the starter, waiting for another hour before they get their main course, doesn't make any sense. So so what we're doing with buffets is we're giving everyone their own gloves, so that they serve and then they can dispose the gloves and go and sit down. So there's no contact from one person to the other. Yes.
Okay. Can I ask you, do you also like do a lot of destination weddings, like for people from outside of Kenya, or maybe even like Kenyans who live and work abroad and come back and want to celebrate, like obviously with their family and like in the place that is close to their heart?
So for destination weddings, I'm not so much in doing the destination weddings. I do a few.
Okay.
Again, for destination weddings, I wouldn't say we have quite a lot of those, as much as we have a very many beautiful scenic places. But I'm seeing a lot of destination weddings on the rise. I'm seeing a lot of people now opting to do destination weddings. Even the locals, I'm seeing many locals wanting to, go to a different place to
Go some other
do their
place.
wedding. Exactly. So when it comes to locals, I have done quite a number of local weddings away. For diaspora weddings, I have done a number, but I wouldn't say that that is part of like what I do so much. Yes.
Okay, no problem. Can you just tell me, because I mean, on this platform, we also want to promote different parts of Africa to people from different parts of the world. if you would like in your mind now, like speak to someone from outside of Africa, from Europe, from the States, from China, like from some other place, and would try to explain to them like the destination Kenya for destination weddings, what they could expect, and why Kenya would make it such a special place for them to get married there, what would you say?
So there's a meme that goes Sihami Kenya. What it means is I am not in any time or in any way moving out of Kenya. So Kenyans love Kenya because of very many things. We have the right weather. I had a friend from
Yeah.
Nigeria last year come to visit, and she was like, "Your sky is very blue," and I'm like, I never thought about it, because it's something that we live with every single day. So we have the right weather conditions. We have very scenic places. Kenya is beautiful. We have the mountains, we have rivers, we have lakes, we have the ocean. I mean, we have everything. We have a
And you have
desert.
tomorrow.
Pardon?
And you have tomorrow.
Yes, we have the Mara, we have a desert, we have the Chalbi Desert. So Kenya is very rich when it comes to like the sins. Then again, another the Tusker spirit. Then again, we also have the Kenyans being people who are very rich in terms of their culture and diversity. So you get to enjoy so much of that. Kenya is a place where by the time you get to the airport, you can be welcomed warmly with people in the cultural regalia. So Kenya is really
Yes.
really rich, and I feel like we have so much to offer when it comes to experience. And I would never want us to lose that as Kenyans, because again, we are moving very fast into the westernized culture. But I really would urge Kenyans that we do not lose our roots. We do not lose our culture, because we can never, and people die
Yes.
get that from Kenya. So we shouldn't lose it when
Correct.
people are actually trying to trade that for anything. It's a beautiful country.
No.
I think this is where maybe God lives.
Yes.
Thank you actually for making this so beautiful
Statement, yes.
for a Kenyan like love for Kenya. I really really appreciate that, and I mean I can just like agree with you.
100%.
Hundred
Yes.
percent. Our heart loves Kenya. Even my mom and my dad. Can you imagine? They've been in Kenya first time about almost 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
20 years ago. And when my dad was there first time, he said, I have to go back. And since then, ever, they have been back 3 times already. And my dad now is 82 and he's still
Wow.
talking about coming to Kenya again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you asked me before if we still maybe carry on with the idea of the Rose Safari that we had last year, the first time that we invite people from all over the world to come to Kenya and to visit the farms and to see how the flowers are grown. And we also have a class, a teaching class there. So I hope that we still can make this possible. And I want my dad to come with us to experience Kenya again.
To
Yes.
experience, yes. And
No,
I
and I
hope
mean
to.
that's why we want to invite the world to come not
Yeah.
only to South Africa but to come to like to Africa, whatever
Yeah.
part of Africa. Every part is special. Like there are so
Yes.
many like really like amazing places out there
Mm.
in Africa, and I think every African country deserves like to have a fair share of tourism, and obviously also of weddings. But there are just so many unique places. But most definitely, I mean, flowers and stunning scenery
And
is
wildlife.
part of
And
what,
we have. I
Yeah.
don't
yes,
think you
what
can miss
makes
any
Kenya so
animal in
special.
Kenya.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah.
Masai Mara alone, I mean, we have seen that last year. It's mind blowing. I mean, you cannot
Waking
even.
up, hearing the hippos just in front of your tent, having a Maasai staying in front of your tent to protect you. It is a little bit like in one of these movies,
Yeah.
like it is. I mean, it is made for tourists, yes, okay, but I mean, we want tourists coming there. So that's why there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and still a
Yes.
lot of those people are very original. Like they are very authentic. I mean, obviously nowadays, I mean, no one really like wears traditional like clothing anymore if they're going shopping. But I mean, that is not the idea, you know. So the idea is to really to just dive into the culture and just to learn also
Into
because
African spirit.
yes, the spirit of the people is just amazing, and I think that is
Yes.
also what makes a lot of African countries so special, which is the people. You
Mm.
know, by the end of the day, you will leave a place because you have been touched by people that have crossed your path. And wherever like your home is, you're going to take those experiences, those encounters with you, and the smiles that you see, like from the airport when the immigration staff greets you, to really like the hotel or guest house place, the staff there, to the restaurant, to the tours that you're doing. So every single like piece is a piece of the chain or is a piece of the puzzle, and I think that is really what makes this place special. And I mean, of course, the animals are just, I mean, incredible. Like for the Masai Mara alone, just the amount of like the amount of animals, I
Yeah,
mean, that you
exactly.
see in like
Yeah.
just with your bare
In a
eyes.
square kilometer, this is unbelievable. Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, um like when you say like local people, like you see more of them like maybe traveling or going like also to other parts maybe like of the country, which are like popular destinations. Is it more beach locations, or is it more like also Mara
Countryside.
locations, more countryside locations? What do you think? Or is it balanced? Or are they like particularly like or particular places like where people really like to go for their
We are looking for hidden places. That's what we are looking for.
yes.
Yes. So our hidden gems. So what happens is that I think our leading spot in terms of tourism, even in terms of weddings, destination weddings, is Mombasa, because of the beach and the clear white sands. We have a beautiful horizon at Mombasa. So that is usually where most of the tourists go. However, we also have
Mm-hmm.
people who love different things in Kenya. So while they're traveling, they probably want to experience something different. For example, if you to go to Mount Kenya, you can go you can go hiking. You can even have your wedding at a mountain, a backdrop. Um, you can have you're able to enjoy things like wildlife. We have a lot of elephants back there, and you can actually
Yeah.
even have elephants as your backdrop during these events. We also have like I will say, in Kenya, each and every county has something very different to offer. We have an area
Mm.
where it's just all forest. We have an area where it's all the ocean. We have a place where it's all lakes. We have, it's very, very different. Even as a Kenyan, I feel like every single time I get to travel, I get to experience something extremely new. Like, I am waiting for
Mm-hmm.
this COVID to be over so that I can go to some place called the Shalby Desert in Turkana. I've never been there, and I was like, why do we even get excited when we go to Dubai to see the desert?
Yes,
Yet we
yeah.
have our own
Yeah.
desert that is amazing.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Yes,
I
it's
feel
true.
like
And I think that
we have very many untapped destinations, and I think
yeah.
going forward we need to have like the Kenya Tourism Board pushing some of these beautiful areas, so that people could not only just go to Mombasa and crowd Mombasa, like it
Yeah.
usually gets very crowded, but they're able to enjoy all
Mhm.
these other things. We have the hilly areas, we have
Yes.
valleys.
Yeah.
We have so much. We have so much. And as
Yeah.
Cookie says, we
Yeah.
also have a lot of beautiful lodges and cottages. You go to areas where there's a glass house, and the only thing you can see is a forest. So you're in the middle of a forest somewhere, and that is something very beautiful. Even when it comes to weddings or events, you want your everything that you're offering at your event be very experiential to your guests, be it the
Yes.
food they eat, the smell that they take in, the sounds they hear, the flora and the fauna. You want
Yeah.
it to be like a total experience. If they go to Watamu, let them enjoy seafood, not your normal chicken and beef. They can do seafood
Yeah.
that is straight
Yeah.
from, the ocean. So I feel that we ought to push Africa to the world. We ought to talk about what we are more. We are beautiful people. I think we are very friendly people. And even when you travel outside Africa, you get to realize that we are very, very friendly people. And we offer our hearts to people. And I think it's high time that we
Yeah.
push that. We really push that. Let us get weddings from outside. Let them come, let them experience all this beauty, and promote tourism, promote weddings, promote destination weddings, destination events. I think most times we talk about destination weddings, but we can have company launches from different countries coming to do them
Yeah.
in Africa. Yeah. So there's
Yeah.
so much that you can
Yeah,
offer.
where you get actually good value for money, I think. And also what you
Exactly.
said, just like what Cookie said, like Kipia, a lot of people maybe might not even know what that is. That is where Cookie Galman actually created a retreat or a resort for elephants, to save the elephants. I mean, like
Oh
20
wow.
or 30, even 30 years ago, or even longer. I think I'm a big fan of her books. I read all of her books, and yeah, I think this is you can dive into history of Africa, in Kenya in particularly. I think, and as what you said, what is maybe, and coming back to this point where we are right now, we are still in COVID right now. We are in stage 3 or 5 in South Africa, and in a lot of other countries, they are also not yet through the peak. However, in Europe, they open slowly. What is maybe like the future for destination weddings from people from all over the world is even more having a small, and not in terms of Kenyan means an intimate wedding, but maybe in terms of European means intimate wedding, which is about 10 to 20.
Yes.
But having an experience, I think this is what maybe is somehow an outcome of the situation, that more people come and travel because they see how quickly things can change, how quickly um, yeah, life can actually end. I mean, like we have all over the world 500,000 dead people. I mean, that affects every country. So people maybe can see more the beauty of nature, of experiences that they want to share with their loved ones, with just a handful of people maybe, but they spend the money on that rather than feeding maybe 5 villages. I mean, there's nothing against that. If you want to do that and if you can do that, is not a problem. But
Particularly from outside
yeah,
Africa, I mean,
yeah,
like generally the number of guests are not as high
yeah,
as in
True.
India, in like Africa. Like there is complete different already setup of a wedding, and a normal wedding already can be like between 50 to 100 people. So, and I think a lot of people might think right now and say, okay, fine, like what do we do to really make it special, to really make it a once in a lifetime event, like in the sense of really using every minute of it and making like every minute of it really very special. And I think a lot of people will opt for vacation, like to go, like take the like mother, father, grandparents, brother, sister, maybe uncles, and just leave, you know. And I think, I mean, obviously Kenya is one of the most interesting places for that.
and it's on all of us to make their experience the most memorable event in their life.
And I think what we just need to say as people who are in Africa is that we can deliver a certain level of service. wherever,
Yes.
like, or whichever industry it touches, whether it is accommodation, hospitality, restaurants, music, DJ, cake, floral
Flowers.
design, you know, I mean, like whatever, in whichever industry we are in, I think what is lacking from us in Africa is to show people outside that we have quality services available, because I think that is still for a lot of people like a big question mark. They think maybe, okay, you have all the animals, okay, you have like maybe, I don't know, like some huts and some like basic accommodation and things like that, but they can also expect certain level of service and standards,
5 star.
that they
I
like
agree.
may not even like think of exist. And I think that is
Uh,
the lack of us here, that we have never shouted loud enough out there to say, you know what, this is Africa, this
Here
is
we
the
are.
one side of it, but we can also like pull off an amazing 5-star luxury high-end event here with corporates, with private events. And I think that is something also over the next time that is really necessary to push this market out of Africa, to just show them what we are all capable of. Because I think
yes.
everyone maybe has tried it rather on their own and maybe rather silently than loud. But I think it's time now, and there's so many beautiful things to be proud of, and what people have done, and what people are capable of, that we don't need to hide. And there's no like, it's not necessary to just like let the local market know what one can do, but to really go out there and say, you know what, we are open for business, we can like do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think that is something that we also like recently launched, the Weddings in Africa platform, where I welcome again everyone who has to showcase beautiful events or weddings that they have done in Africa, uh, to send them our way, to just make people aware of what is possible.
And
Because
the most beautiful picture on this side so far, my favorite one, is Miss Kenya actually photographed in the Mara.
Yes, I
Amazing. Have you
saw
seen
that.
that?
Oh,
It
that is
is
beautiful.
really, that
yes,
is,
It's
I
a
have never seen something
beautiful.
beautiful like that. Yeah.
Yes,
And
yes, I
people,
saw the
this
photo
is what
where
can
with
be
the
possible.
yes, it's beautiful. I saw those photos and I was amazed as well. Very beautiful.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, and
Let
I
me go.
want to
Yeah.
believe that as much as we're talking about all these beautiful things, I also want to believe that we are very professional people and we have the experience.
Yes.
So I don't think we should allow anything. I don't think there's anything that is holding us back right now. Uh, and I think part of the realization that I've made during this COVID season is that we need to be very relevant. We need to be very relevant, very out there. Let people see what we're doing. Let people see what you're capable of. Because if we do not make noise, then we remain like a shadow. So we need to really
Yes.
come out and strongly say that we can do it. We can do it differently. We are not looking out for ideas on Pinterest. Not that it is a bad thing, but we have a lot of other things that can inspire us as a people. And other than that, as Elfie said, we are able to offer that professionalism, the experience, service. I think that is key.
Yeah.
Oh, that was very important that you said that. I think this is really what we stayed completely behind, and it's good that this is said from you. I have one more question. I mean, like when it comes, and I had this morning a very interesting also chat with someone in another African country, and I mean, you are a specialist for flowers in your country and for the weddings. When it comes to budgeting of flower budgets, right? For a wedding, how actually like people react? Do people give you a budget to say, okay, this is my budget for the flowers, or are they expecting from you that you come up with a budget and then they agree or disagree, or then it is negotiated? How this is in Kenya, because it's very interesting and handled in different African countries. What from my experience so far, when I talk to some of my clients when they want to book flowers for different countries.
Um, so, so I will give you two scenarios. In Kenya, we are quickly evolving. We are quickly evolving in that back then, and I think I even shared this with you last year while you were coming for your rose safari. Um, we had people, we had couples, or not necessarily couples, any kind of person who will come to you, and for them the most important thing was what is very basic. They want to sit on a comfortable seat, they want to have a table. They don't really care about whether the flowers are, fresh or plastic, or not necessarily plastic, but they weren't so wild when it comes to
Yes.
like the full setup. But we are quickly evolving, and I'm seeing a lot of people now embracing like going out in terms of the setup. And even like in my career, I think I've seen that in like the last 2 years. Now this is the third, where most of my clients will come and they will be like, I want something different. I want something that is, out of your imagination, out of the norm. And I'm very happy that we're getting there. It was my prayer for the longest time that we get there. And I remember 13 years is not a joke, being in an industry where you feel like there's no there's no evolution. You're stuck in the same place. So I feel like my prayers were answered, because now we're getting a lot of people who come to you and they're like, even sometimes they have no clue what they want, but they're like, you know what, to the professional, surprise us. So they want the element of surprise.
Wow.
Yes. And before I kept on saying, like, the Kenyan event scene is more like a play or a movie where you have, same same storyline but different actors. So the actors were the couples, but we were in the same movie watching the same thing, the same concept. But now I'm happy that the script has changed, and every time you go to an event you feel like there's, like, you're speaking out or you're sharing the couples or the host personality. And I think that is very key. I tell people I don't love these particular flowers, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have them. For example, I'm not a big fan of baby's breath. So if you give me baby's breath just because everyone else is getting baby's breath, I'll be like, no, I do not like baby's breath. So give me something different. Give me jaberas, give me, carnations. So I feel like an event is very personal. It should be very personalized. You should be able to get into an event and feel like this is Sylvia's event. This is an Elfie kind of, event or a story. This is, Diana's story. And I have really worked on that. If you check what we do at Galina, you'll realize that every other event feels different, because I feel that it is very key to tell a story every time you have an event. It could be one person having different events, and every single time the same kind of guests are invited, they walk out and feel like they're carrying a memory. So I'm glad that we are quickly adapting to that, and I'm looking forward to what the industry has to offer and what the clients have to expect from us. I am really eager. I'm eager to know where we're heading to. Yes. And I know in terms
This is so
of the
good to
African
hear.
countries, we had lagged behind, because you could see South Africa doing all these beautiful things. You go to Tanzania, they were already doing so many things. So I felt that we were the how do they call these babies who slowly learn things? So we were the kind of babies that, slowly were getting into it. But now when we put our foot in it, we are, everywhere now, and we're walking all over, and I'm happy that we're there now.
Great. we are very happy to hear that. And I mean, like, I remember that conversation that we had almost a year ago.
Yes.
And it was not yet like that. So
it wasn't.
it's really very yeah, it's very cool to hear that within a year, there is almost like a
Maybe
little
it was
like
the yes
revolution.
exclusive. Maybe it was the yes exclusive effects that rubbed on us.
Oh,
Thank you, but
thank you so much. I don't think that we have so much influence, but I think this is something, and that's really nice to see that in a lot of African countries things are moving, and what has been done maybe like 5 years ago. That is not up to date anymore. What you exactly said is there was a time where it was just a repeating of something, and now
Mm.
it's an individualization, because also what I personally believe is the more people travel, the more it broadens their horizon, their
Yes.
own like imagination. They see different flowers, they see different like locations. They want maybe to bring Italy back to Kenya when they have maybe had a beautiful like
Tuscany
Tuscany
wedding.
wedding day, when they have been invited, and they want to have this maybe this feeling back in their home, or whatever it is. I think this is we are not only telling stories, we are making dreams come true, and I think this is
True.
exactly what what is going to happen right now. So there's a lot of
Yes.
dreams that
And and
become
and
true. And
and I like what you've said, that traveling gives you exposure, it opens your mind. But I also want to
Yeah.
believe that because not everyone can travel, so what I push for people to do is collaborate. We have the internet right now, and technology is here with us. And like, I didn't have to, like, I am very open to making friends through the internet. And I remember we were already talking with Sylvia back then, last year. I really try to talk to people and get to hear what they offer, or what the story is like. And I think when you collaborate with different people from different countries, then you get to also open your mind. And you
yeah,
don't have to travel physically. You can even just travel
Yes.
mentally, where you
with
get
the
to see
finger
what
on the map, we say you
exactly,
can with the finger
Yes.
on the map.
I mean, this is the
exactly.
beauty of technology these days. I mean, this what we are doing now. I mean, not sitting like next to each other, but virtually sitting next to each other, crossing countries. I mean, who would have ever thought this is possible? It's
Imagine.
beautiful right
Yes.
now to be able to do this. I think it helps a lot of people also to overcome this really difficult time of our lives, because I mean, a lot of people, they have families somewhere else, they have like, I mean, businesses still somewhere else that they also need to take care of. So this is a beautiful like instrument to come closer also to each other.
Yes.
But I think by the end of the day, nonetheless, it is also your personal connections, whether you've made them online or offline. It is the people that you know, that you maybe get inspired from, that you have seen something they have posted, they have said, you follow this up, like online or offline. But by the end of the day, we all do business with the people that we know.
and
Mm.
and this is exactly the best example. Our piece of the puzzle is a mirror of all the people we know in our life. I mean,
Oh, we
like,
Yes.
wanted to know.
oh, we
Like
wanted
we
to
did
know,
not
yeah.
know
Yeah,
everyone
exactly.
yet,
But we have contacted first those people that we know. We reached out to those people we know. We met somewhere, or we knew from the past. We worked with. I think this is how it works. You
Exactly.
rarely contact someone that is completely unknown to you. Or, as Alfie said, you reach those people that you ever wanted to talk to, but you was too much afraid to speak to them because you thought they will never have time for you. But now
Exactly. That
it's like,
and that is usually what is really surprising. Like, we I feel like if you choose your career or your company to be backward, then it's really upon you. Because sometimes we usually put like a mirage of fear, and we feel like if I contact, you first of all judge different businesses with where they are at in terms of what they're doing. However, I feel like that should not be the case. For example, sometimes as I've just said, I I feel like I've learned a lot in terms of florals or flowers from people outside. And I'm usually the kind of person
Yeah.
who's very open. I think, Sylvia, I'm always on your DM, sliding questions and asking what is this, what is that. And that is the key, whereby you use technology to your advantage. You're also able
Yeah.
to learn a lot. Like, I remember I learned
Yes.
the frog technique from someone on the internet. I learned from Sarah of Intrigue Designs, and I just chatted her. And I just chatted her without any expectations. I was open to silence or to a response, and it didn't take even a
Yes.
minute. And she was there telling me the techniques, and I'm like, wow, look at that. And I think
Yeah.
it's very key to always just reach out. I think people
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
open to teach,
To share.
and we shouldn't
Yeah.
Yes.
hold back.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, and you are right, and I think that is the most beautiful ending. Also, like to our chat that you said, I think people should not be afraid to reach out. And I always say the limitations are only in our mind, and I think there is no stupid questions. There is only like really like stupid answers.
This is a quote a German language.
Yes, but this is the truth. I mean, you can never really like ask something that is not there, because like even if you think maybe you do not know, and someone else cannot verbalize an answer, then it's someone else's fault. So I don't think that there's always a stupid question around. So, and I think it makes it very easy, obviously, these days, to just like ask questions, reach out to people, ask them for advice, or not. And maybe if they're not the right people, they might direct you like to the people who know. And again, like this is a really like interesting chain of meeting people, and like traveling the world without leaving your living room.
Yes, 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 indeed. You're absolutely right. It's important to actually travel, because, again, when you travel, you also get inspired with things that probably you can't get from the technology, even in terms of emotions. But I want to believe no one has an excuse at this point to say they cannot do this, or they cannot implement something, because everything is in our hands, everything is right in front of us, and we just need to
Correct.
do it. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Look
Yes.
at this. We have even people watching us from Pakistan. Hello, Pakistan. Pakistan is a very interesting floral country. They have lots of floral designer there. We really appreciate. Maybe one day we have to reach out to one of these. Maybe bring Pakistan on the map of the flower
I,
of the
I, I
flower
love their
of a flower.
accessories. They have beautiful deco accessories. I just love their accessories.
Amazing.
Amazing. I think we couldn't have a better like last sentence. Being connected to the world is something that reaches our and broaden our mind, and it helps us to overcome things like these difficult times. And I thank you so much for your time. I wish you all the very best. I wish you lots of events with lots of flowers. And next year we will make a plan to bring your own flowers
To your table.
to your table.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We need
Thank you
that, and
very
thank you
much.
so
Thank
much
you
Thank
for
you
the
very
very
much.
much as well.
opportunity.
Bye bye.
Bye
Okay,
bye.
bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. Bye bye.